Better takes time. That's the problem. Better needs testing, refinement, iteration, patience. You have to live with something long enough to understand what actually works. You have to notice the flaws, fix the right things, keep what matters, ignore what doesn't. That's how something becomes better. Slowly. But new? New doesn't need any of that. New just needs to exist. A new version, a new release, a new feature, a new design. And instantly it gets attention because our eyes are drawn to it. What's new? What's next? What just changed? And that changes everything. Because once attention becomes the goal, better starts losing. Not because better stopped mattering, because new is easier to sell. Better asks you to compare. New just asks you to notice. And noticing is easier than thinking. So over time, more and more things stopped being designed to improve. They started being designed to refresh. A slightly different look, a slightly newer version, a slightly updated release. Not always better, just different enough to feel current. And current has power. Because current creates urgency. It creates movement. It creates the sense that if you don't keep up, you'll fall behind. Even when nothing meaningful has changed, you see it everywhere. Phones, apps, cars, software, fashion, media, endless cycles of replacement. Not necessarily because the old version failed, because the new version arrived. And arrival alone is enough. That's the shift. We used to ask, is this better? Now we ask, is this the latest one? And that sounds small, but it changes how everything gets made. Because if people respond to new more than better, then building better becomes less important. Why spend years perfecting something when you can release something new every year? Why refine when you can refresh? Why stabilize when movement gets more attention? And that creates a strange world. Things keep changing, but not always improving. Products become more crowded, more layered, more feature heavy. Not because those features help, because they make it feel newer, and newer is visible. Better often isn't. Sometimes the best improvement is invisible. A product that lasts longer, a tool that stays consistent, a system that becomes more reliable. But those things don't always look exciting. They don't create launch events. They don't generate headlines. They don't trigger that immediate feeling that something important just happened. So they lose. Or at least they lose attention. And attention drives everything now. Once that happens, new starts replacing better in your own mind too. You stop asking whether your current thing still works. You start wondering how old it feels. That's a very different question, because usefulness has a limit, but newness expires quickly. And when newness expires quickly, everything starts feeling old faster, even when it still works perfectly, even when it still does everything you need, even when nothing is wrong. It just doesn't feel current anymore. And once that feeling takes hold, replacement starts to feel reasonable, normal, expected, not because you're solving a problem, because you're responding to a cycle built around attention, novelty, and motion. And that cycle doesn't really end, because the moment something is new, the countdown begins. It starts aging immediately, not physically, psychologically. There is always another release coming, another update, another launch, another redesign. And the faster those cycles become, the less time anything has to prove itself, to settle, to become trusted, to become better over time, because it gets replaced before that can happen. And that affects more than products. It affects taste, patience, judgment. You become used to reacting to the new thing. You stop waiting to see whether it was actually an improvement. And once you get used to that pace, stability starts to feel suspicious. If something hasn't changed, it starts to feel behind, even if it works, even if it's better precisely because it stayed stable. That's how deep the shift goes. We didn't just start buying new things, we started trusting newness itself, as if new is proof, as if change automatically means progress, as if the latest version must be the better one. But it often isn't. Sometimes it's just the next one, and there's a difference, a big one. Because better earns trust, new borrows it, and the more we confuse those two things, the more everything starts to feel slightly unfinished, slightly unstable, slightly less satisfying than it should, because it was built to arrive, not necessarily to last, which leads to the next shift. If new is what wins now, why does everything feel easier, but somehow worse? And once new becomes more important than better, things don't need to last anymore. They just need to be replaced. And that's where something else starts to disappear, the ability to fix anything at all. Next, why everything is getting harder to repair.